You ever sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic on a Tuesday morning?
Oh, all the time. The absolute worst.
Right. You're just staring at this endless sea of red taillights, and suddenly you just think, who actually decided this was the best way to spend a life?
Yeah, you really zoom out for a second.
Exactly. I mean, you wake up to a blaring alarm, you pour coffee into a travel mug, and you sit in a metal box for an hour.
Just to get to a building where you sit for another 8 hours.
Yes. All so you can, afford the metal box and the house you left at dawn. It feels like you're running on a treadmill that, well, someone else plugged in and set the speed for.
It's a very common, almost universal feeling of existential dread, really.
Mhm.
We hit these moments where the sheer mechanics of modern life just feel, I don't know, entirely arbitrary. Like, we realize we're following a script, but we have absolutely no idea who actually wrote it.
Right. And I think more importantly, we assume that because everyone else is following the script, it must be the only way to live.
Yeah, we think it's mandatory.
Exactly. Well, welcome to the deep dive. We are thrilled to have you with us today because we're going to look at that exact feeling.
That visceral realization that you're just running on a societal hamster wheel.
Yeah, and we're going to examine a roadmap for actually stepping off of it. We're grounding our conversation today in a really thought-provoking philosophical essay from January 2023.
A fantastic piece.
It really is. It's written by an author named Shu Feng and edited by Yu. And, the title alone really lays out the mission. It's called Breaking Out of the Program Circles Set by Others.
It is a remarkable piece of writing. I mean, in a very concise format, it challenges the fundamental assumptions we make about, well, how a life is supposed to be lived. It doesn't just ask if we're unhappy, it asks if the very structure of our lives was designed to keep us exhausted.
Wow. Yeah, so our goal today is to explore this radical framework. We really want to decode what Swifeng means by programmed circles, understand the hidden mechanics of how they function, and, figure out how to stop living life on society's default autopilot.
Which is no small task.
Not at all. So, okay, let's unpack this, starting with an incredibly mundane, everyday household object.
Yes.
Because this entire massive philosophy actually kicks off with, of all things, a towel rack.
It does. The author starts with a highly literal, very tactile experience. Xu Feng writes about attempting to install a towel rack in their home.
We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they open the box and they look at the manufacturer's complex installation process.
The dreaded manual.
Right. The instructions, the specific parts, the required tools. And in that moment, they have an epiphany.
Wait, just from looking at the manual?
Yeah. They realize that if they blindly follow those specific, rigid instructions, the process is going to be incredibly difficult.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to be frustrating. And there's a solid chance the towel rack won't even end up secure on the wall.
I mean, you look at the 80 different wall anchors and the tiny hex keys, and you just think, it's a metal bar that holds a towel.
Right.
Does it really need a 12-step engineering schematic?
It really doesn't. And what Sufin does next is brilliant. He doesn't just complain about the manual. He literally throws it away.
I love that. Just tosses it.
Completely discards it. He tosses the manufacturer's parts and decides to install the rack using what he calls the principle of least resistance.
The principle of least resistance. Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, and to understand it, we really need to look at the mechanics of what he actually did.
Okay.
Instead of trying to force a prepackaged, complicated solution into his unique environment, his specific wall, his specific tools, he just looked at the ultimate goal.
Which is just hanging a towel.
Exactly. The goal is just to hang a towel. By trusting his own spatial awareness and common sense, he completely bypassed the manufacturer's convoluted method.
Then did it work?
Perfectly. He installs it easily, it looks great, and it's completely sturdy.
So it's a great DIY tip, but the towel rack isn't really about home improvement, is it?
Not at all, no. It's the foundational metaphor for the entire essay.
Got it.
The manufacturer in this scenario represents society at large. Our cultural norms, our economic systems, our traditions.
And the instructions.
Those complicated instructions are the default rules, the milestones, and the expectations we blindly follow every single day.
Like getting the degree, buying the house.
Right. We assume those complex instructions are there for our benefit. But Sofeng is pointing out that often they are designed to serve the manufacturer's processes, not our specific reality.
Oh, wow. It's like Think about assembling flat pack furniture.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah, where the complicated manual actually makes the job much harder. And you have to wonder, when have you overcomplicated a simple life task just because the rules said to do it that way?
Exactly. We do it all the time.
So if we accept that these societal instructions serve the manufacturer and not us, we really have to look at what following them is actually costing us.
And the cost is high.
Yeah, because the author points out that the currency we're paying with is incredibly limited, which brings us to his view on time.
Yes, time is the ultimate metric here.
Right. Zhu Feng reminds us that we are navigating what he beautifully calls the great river of life, and, well, we only have a few decades to do it.
The brevity of life is the lens through which he analyzes everything. Against the backdrop of a few short decades, he looks at the ultimate goals people spend their lives agonizing over.
Wealth, status, that sort of thing.
Yeah, wealth, social legacy, prestige, and he just straight up calls them illusions. The great equalizer, he points out, is death.
He specifically lists out these societal roles that we hold up as the absolute pinnacle of success. He talks about celebrities, officials, wealthy individuals, experts, professors, judges, lawyers.
The people who made it.
Right. We look at these people and we think, they did it. They won the game.
But the author strips away all that prestige and looks at the bare mechanism of their existence.
Yeah.
No matter how illustrious or honorable their lives might have been, they die.
Wow.
They become nothing. And all that rushing, all that busy pursuit of goals, the late nights, the competition, the stress,
It all just vanishes.
mathematically it amounts to zero. The universe just doesn't care about the title on your office door once you're in the grave.
It is a really stark reality to face. I mean, he notes that people spend their lives in a constant, breathless rush, and before they know it, they're old and their time is up. Everything they gained is gone.
It's a sobering thought.
It really is. But I have to be honest here. I want to challenge the author a bit on this.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because he goes even further and targets the concept of legacy. He talks about people who take pride in the prosperity of their descendants, and he calls it a pitiful dream.
He does use very strong language there.
Yeah. He says that when you die, the dream shatters, and even if your descendants burn incense at your grave every single day, you will never feel their mourning.
You find that perspective a bit too bleak.
I do. I really do. Because isn't leaving a family legacy a fundamental human comfort?
Sure, for many people it is.
I mean, if I sacrifice my own comfort today to make sure my children have a better life tomorrow, I don't see that as a shattered dream. I see that as real, tangible purpose. Why does the author dismiss the act of providing for the next generation as a meaningless trap?
This raises an important question. Are we finding meaning in the act of giving today, or are we relying on a hypothetical future to validate our existence?
Okay, that's a subtle difference.
The author is diagnosing a very specific psychological trap here. He isn't saying that loving your children or helping them is bad. What he is fiercely critiquing is the expectation of posthumous validation.
Meaning, like, relying on the idea that they will revere you after you are gone.
Exactly. If your comfort relies entirely on the idea that people will burn incense for you or speak highly of you long after you're dead, you are sacrificing your actual lived experience for a scenario you will physically never participate in.
Wow. Because you're literally not there.
Right. You are enduring the friction of a miserable job or a stressful life today, just to purchase a legacy you won't be around to enjoy. That is following an instruction manual for an afterlife you can't even verify.
Oh, I see.
Zhu Feng is challenging us to find meaning and apply that principle of least resistance while we are actually alive and breathing.
Okay, I see the distinction now. It's the difference between genuine present moment love and treating your descendants like an emotional retirement fund that you can never actually cash out.
That's a great way to put it.
If you're living for the eulogy, you aren't living for yourself.
Precisely.
So if striving for that kind of status and posthumous legacy is a flawed instruction manual, we need to look at the actual blueprint we are handed at birth.
Because we are all handed one.
We are, and Zhu Feng explicitly maps out this trajectory, doesn't he?
He does, with clinical precision. He outlines the trajectory of what he calls the ordinary person.
And how does that go?
The sequence goes like this. Birth, education, work, marriage, children, supporting the family and children, retirement, and finally, death.
That is the standard, globally accepted arc of a human life.
It is. It's the default setting.
And what really struck me is how he details the emotional toll of running that exact program.
Yeah, the emotional cost is staggering.
It isn't just a list of events, it's a list of psychological states. He says that on this standard journey, we experience joy, sickness, struggle, sexual happiness, fatigue,
Hardship.
yeah, hardship, anxiety, worry, pain, anger, frustration, and fear.
It's a comprehensive, incredibly heavy list. And the reason we accept all that fatigue, anxiety, and frustration is because society tells us it is the mandatory entry fee for a good life.
Like we have to pay our dues in anxiety.
Exactly. We endure the anxiety because we believe it's the only way to eventually reach the joy or the security of retirement. But Xuefeng's core thesis is that the essence of this human existence hasn't actually changed over centuries.
We're just doing what people did 100 years ago.
Yes, we are simply replicating the path of our predecessors. The only things that have changed are the tools we use and our level of material prosperity.
We just have better phones while we stress out.
Right. We're crying in nicer cars, basically.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Xufeng doesn't just casually observe that this trajectory is a habit.
No, he takes it a step further.
He specifically calls these milestones programs designed by others.
That phrasing is so important.
It is. He uses this modern mechanical vocabulary to imply that there is actual intent behind the struggle. He specifically points to home buyers, for example.
Classic American dream, right?
Right. He talks about people taking out loans and making monthly payments, and he explicitly calls this a program designed by sellers and banks.
Let's break down the mechanics of how that actually works, because it's a perfect example of his philosophy.
Okay. Yeah.
How exactly does a bank program a human being?
Mm.
Well, when you sign a 30-year mortgage, you aren't just acquiring shelter.
You're signing away your future choices.
You are executing a command line in a financial institution software. Suddenly, your entire behavioral pattern has to shift to service that debt.
Right. You can't just quit a job you hate because, well, you have the mortgage. You become risk averse.
Precisely. You tolerate office politics, you skip vacations, you accept daily fatigue and anxiety. Not because it's your natural state, but because the bank requires a steady, predictable flow of capital from you for 3 decades.
Wow. So the bank wrote the code to sustain itself.
Exactly. The sellers and the institutions designed a system that misleads people into having unrealistic dreams of ownership, which ultimately just locks them into a predefined, exhausting loop.
It's a trap masquerading as a milestone.
And Xuefeng even frames the societal expectations around marriage, having children, and retirement as similar predefined programs.
It makes me think of an open-world video game.
Oh, I like that analogy. How so?
Well, you load up the game, and there is this massive, beautiful, totally open map for you to explore.
Sure.
But the game flashes a glowing waypoint on your screen and says, go here, do the main quest.
And most of us just go.
Right. So you just follow the main quest line. You go to school, you get the mortgage, you get married, you retire. You stay entirely within the confines of what the game designers programmed for you.
Experiencing all the artificial stress of the game's difficulty level.
Exactly. And what Xuefeng is saying is that the vast majority of people spend their entire lives in this magical program without ever realizing they are holding the controller.
They don't realize they have the option to just walk off the map.
Yeah, they can just go explore the woods. They don't have to fight the final boss.
That is a fantastic analogy. And walking off the map is exactly what he did with the towel rack.
Oh, right. Bypassing the waypoint.
He looked at the manufacturer's complicated waypoint,
Yeah.
and he simply chose not to go there. Because if you don't step out of these program circles, your life ceases to be uniquely your own.
You just become a replica.
You become, as he puts it, someone who just follows in the footsteps of those who came before. You're running legacy code, replicating the exact same anxieties as the dead.
So, okay, we've identified the program. We see the economic and social incentives that keep us locked in, and we understand the exhausting emotional toll of running it.
The anxiety, the fear, the fatigue.
If we finally realize we can walk off the map, what is the alternative? What is the author's ultimate, least resistant solution for a meaningful life?
This is where his philosophy becomes incredibly distilled. Very simple, but very hard.
Lay it on me.
The author states that to make life valuable and meaningful, stepping out of the program designed by others is completely mandatory. You have to do it.
Okay, step 1, get out of the program.
And once you do that,
Yeah.
he claims there are only 2 things in life that are truly valuable and meaningful.
Just 2.
Just 2. Number 1, making oneself happy. And number 2, finding the path to heaven.
Making oneself happy and find the path to heaven.
That's it.
And he does not mince words about the rest of it, does he?
Not at all.
Every single other thing outside of those two goals is explicitly labeled as nonsense.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I mean, think about the sheer volume of modern hustle culture.
Oh, it's deafening.
The obsession with productivity hacks, building a personal brand, arguing with strangers on the internet, stressing over the exact square footage of a house.
Climbing a corporate ladder that you don't even care about?
According to this framework, all of that is the noise of the program.
Yeah.
It is the complex, unnecessary instruction manual distracting you from the only two metrics that actually matter.
Let's unpack those two metrics, though, because making oneself happy could easily be misinterpreted as just, mindless hedonism, right?
Sure, people might think it means just doing whatever feels good in the moment.
Just eating junk food and ignoring the world. And finding the path to heaven sounds strictly religious.
It's really important to look at the context of his least resistance philosophy here. Making oneself happy isn't about fleeting, destructive pleasure.
Right.
It's about removing the manufactured friction from your life. It's the peace of mind that comes from not carrying the bank's anxiety or society's status games.
It's finding joy in the simple, frictionless things.
Exactly. And finding the path to heaven functions here as a pursuit of spiritual alignment and ultimate meaning.
So it doesn't have to mean sitting in a pew.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Whether you view that through a religious lens or as achieving a state of inner peace and enlightenment, it represents an internal, soul-level goal rather than an external, societal one.
It's your own path, not the bank's path.
You've got it.
And he backs up this two-goal system with a mathematical assertion that is, honestly, pretty hard to swallow.
The 95% rule.
Yes. He states that from the perspective of maintaining happiness and finding the path to heaven, 95% of people spend their lives talking nonsense, doing nonsense, and worrying and being anxious about nonsense.
It's a huge number.
95%. So, to you listening right now, how does it feel to hear that 95% of your daily worries, the stress over that project deadline, the frustration with the neighborhood association, the anxiety over whether your car is nice enough, are classified by this author as pure nonsense?
It is a radical percentage.
Yeah.
Most people spend their whole day in that 95%.
I have to ask, though, from a practical standpoint, is this philosophy actually liberating? Or is it dangerously dismissive?
That's the real tension here, isn't it?
I mean, we still have to pay the light bill. We still have responsibilities. If we drop 95% of what we do, our lives just fall apart.
What's fascinating here is the author isn't actually telling us to abandon our lives or drop out of society completely.
He's not saying go live in a cave.
No. Going back to the very beginning, he still installed the towel rack.
Oh. Right. He didn't just leave the towels on the floor.
Exactly. He still accomplished the necessary goal. He just refused to suffer through the manufacturer's convoluted method to get there.
Wow, that completely reframes it.
When he says 95% of what we do is nonsense, he's highlighting the massive inefficiency of our emotional energy. He isn't dismissive of the fact that we need shelter. He's dismissive of the crippling anxiety we accept as a mandatory part of acquiring it.
That is the crucial distinction right there. He's not saying don't have a house. He's saying don't let the bank's mortgage program become the defining anxiety of your existence.
Yes. Keep the house. Lose the existential dread.
He's not saying don't love your family. He's saying don't sacrifice your present joy for the illusion that they'll worship you after you're gone.
Exactly. He is giving us permission to strip away the friction.
Precisely. If your ultimate goal is your own true happiness and your own spiritual alignment, then agonizing over the 95% of things that don't serve those goals is literally a waste of your finite time on the river of life.
You're spending your days following instructions for a machine you don't even want to build.
So, what does this all mean? We started by looking at the dread of the morning commute in a simple, frustrating household task a towel rack with a terrible instruction manual.
The universal struggle.
But through Xu Feng's eyes, that towel rack became a mechanism for understanding our entire society. We explored the reality that our time is short and that death renders all our frantic status-seeking completely moot.
The great equalizer.
We broke down how the magical program of standard life milestones, the loans, the careers, the expected paths, are actually loops designed by institutions to sustain themselves, often at the cost of our own peace.
Designed by the manufacturer for the manufacturer.
And finally, we were challenged by the 5% rule. The profound idea that true value lies only in personal happiness and spiritual alignment, while 95% of our daily anxieties are just programmed nonsense.
It is a massive shift in how we evaluate our daily
Oh, it
actions.
really is.
It asks us to transition from being passive, exhausted followers of a complicated manual to becoming the active architects of our own simple, sturdy, and peaceful lives.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to take into your day.
Hmm.
If society's programs were indeed designed by others to benefit others, if the banks, the corporations, and the traditions wrote the manual that is making you so tired, what would it look like to write your own personal source code from scratch?
That's the big question.
If you threw away the manufacturer's instructions for your life, right now, today, what is the very first rule you would write for yourself? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep questioning the instructions.